Hey everyone, I'm here today to do the book lovers tag. I think this video was originally created by Richard Vlog, so I'll leave that original link down below. And I was tagged by Jenny at Jellify, which I got really excited by because I've never been tagged before, so I had a little happy dance when I found out. Jenny is really funny and super nice, so I'll leave her link down below as well. So the tag originally consisted of 11 questions, and then when Jenny and her friend did the tag, they added an extra question to the end, so I'm going to go through and do all 12 questions. Question 1 is, do you remember how you developed a love for reading? And I have always been a reader, like always. My parents are reading to me since I was a baby, and my whole family reads, even if we do read slightly different books sometimes. There are books in practically every room of our house, and I think some of my fondest childhood memories are reading with my family. I think probably the most influential factor that really helped me foster that love for reading was the fact that my mother read to me and my brother every single night from when I was born up until I was about 12 years old. We basically read anything that I was interested in reading. So we read Emily Rodda, Harry Potter, Robin Klein, we read The Hobbit once. It basically just made reading this really fun, really social experience, and I loved it so much. Reading was just such a huge part of my childhood, and I don't really think there's a way that I could avoid ending up a huge bookworm. Question number 2 is, where do you usually read? And I usually read sitting on my bed. I don't have a desk or a chair or anything in my bedroom, so if I'm in my room, I'm sitting on my bed, like I am right now. So it's just the most convenient and the most comfortable place to read. But I also love reading on the train to and from work, and there's a couple of great beaches and parks really close to my work. So if I finish early in the afternoon, I'll often go walk to one of those and sit there for about an hour and just read a couple of chapters of a book. Question number 3 is, do you read one book at once or several books at a time? And usually I'm reading just one book at once. I'll often read 30 or 40 pages of a bunch of books to see which one I'm most interested in at the time, but once I get past that point, I usually just like sticking to one book to get it finished. So that is why I usually have about 1 billion books on my Goodreads currently reading shelf, because I'm only a little way into most of them. Question number 4 is, what is your favourite genre? And my immediate response is to say that I don't have one, because I do feel like I really read quite a wide range of books. But I think honestly I probably read more children's literature more than anything else. I just love classic children's stories as well as new middle grade fiction. It's just so fun and wonderful and encourages this beautiful enthusiasm for life. And I just don't think you ever grow out of a solid story like Peter Pan or Little Women. Question number 5 is, what genre will you not read? And I don't like to say that I refuse to read any genre. I don't like the idea of refusing to read based on genre alone, because so often the best books defy that genre definition. And I don't want to close myself off from some of those amazing books out there by refusing to read them just based on where they go in a bookstore or a library. Having said that, I am less interested in crime books and horror books, just because I have a really weak stomach and I'm really easily creeped out by things. So it has to be a really good, really solidly written story for me to still enjoy them. But I have read crime books and I have really enjoyed them. I read The Big Sleep by Raymond Chandler a couple of years ago, and it was amazing. And I'd be so mad at myself if I refused to read that just because it's categorised as crime, because it's a wonderful book. Question 6 is, do you have a favourite book? And I do. I'm sure I've raved about it before. It's Saving Francesca by Melina Marchetta. Or Marchetta? I'm not too sure. One of those two. I've seen quite a few people raving about On the Jellicoe Road by Melina, but this is my favourite of her novels by far. It's contemporary YA, essentially dealing with the life of Francesca, whose life has been turned a little bit upside down after she starts at a new school and her mother is diagnosed with clinical depression. When I describe it like that, it both sounds depressing and total shit, but this book was just such a lifesaver for me. I discovered it in either year 11 or year 12, I can't remember which. And then I read it every single month, sometimes multiple times a day for the next 2 years. It was just such a comfort for me. So I love this book, first of all, because it's a wonderful, realistic, heartfelt examination of adolescence, but also because even though I've reread this book dozens of times, whenever I read it again, I can remember what it felt like to be that confused and terrified 17-year-old, and to find a book that told me that I was going to be okay. Alright, Sapfest over, but this book is amazing. Question number 7 is, what is the worst book that you've ever read? This one was actually a really recent read for me, and I absolutely despised it. Be More Chill by Ned Vizzini. I talked about my excessive hatred for this book in my Made a Bit wrap-up, so if you want to know more specifically what I disliked about it, you can go check that one out. But essentially, no plot, no moral, shit character, terrible writing. It basically just ticks every box for worst book ever. Question number 8 is, what is the biggest book that you've read? I don't tend to read terribly long books just because I have a really short attention span, and so I tend to get unmotivated when I'm trying to plow through them. But the longest one that I have read is Order of the Phoenix. This edition is 766 pages, so it's pretty mammoth and definitely counts as a long book. It's actually my favourite book of the Harry Potter series though, so I've read it probably 10 or 12 times. Question number 9 is, what is the last book that you bought? I went to an independent bookstore this weekend and I bought 2 books. The first book is Holes by Louis Saka. I own Small Steps, which I think is kind of a sequel, so I figured I should probably read this one first, and I've heard amazing things about it. And I also bought this really awesome edition of The Great Gatsby. My copy fell apart when I was reading it a couple of months ago, and I just love this pulp cover. Question number 10 is, do you prefer buying books or library books? And I do prefer buying books. Even though I absolutely adore my local library, I just have so many books that I own and haven't read yet. It would feel a little bit like I was cheating if I chose to read from the library instead. But I do borrow YA books from my library just because I prefer not to buy those unless I know that I like them. Question number 11 is, what are you currently reading? Because I'm doing the 30-day reading challenge, I'm reading lots of short books, so I can pretty much guarantee that what I'm reading when I'm filming this will be completely different from what I'm reading when I'm uploading it. But at the moment, I'm reading 7 Little Australians by Ethel Turner, and I think it's really cute so far. So those are the 11 original questions asked by the tag, and then there is a 12th question asked by Jenny. So question number 12 is, what are the disadvantages of being a book lover? It's expensive and it's not particularly practical sometimes once you get to a certain point of owning a certain number of books and not owning enough bookshelf space. But the biggest disadvantage for me used to be that I didn't have that many people to talk to about books. I did have friends who read, but they weren't as enthusiastic as I was and didn't really want to talk about books all day every day. So discovering BookTube for me has knocked that big disadvantage right out of the park and has really made reading a lot more fun. So that is the tag. Thank you so much to Jenny for tagging me. Again, I will leave her link and a link to the original video down below. I have been tagged in another couple of tags, which is really exciting for me, so those should be going up relatively soon. And today is also the last day of the 30-day read, so I'll have an endpoint wrap up for that video up eventually. Alright, that's it for today. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye. Am I supposed to tag people? I don't know how this works. If you want to do the tag, you're tagged. Done.